Bam. Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? It is episode number like 130 something. And I say that because I don't even know, quite honestly. I did some episodes while I was away when Keeping It Real was kind of stale, but we're back. We got a brand new Keeping It Real. I got like this cool new like thing going on in the background. And to kick it off, I think I'm bringing one of the best guests that I've never had on my show before. And actually, I've never spoken to really in person. But I'm super pumped because we talked a couple minutes ago and I know this is about to be fire. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jordana to the episode. Jordana, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. So, we were just talking, like I said, before this got started, and you kind of got me all fired up because of your passion and your energy. So, let's just kick it off and like we'll go 100 miles an hour from here to the very end. And then it'll be like we hit a wall and it just stops. So that's the way I like to live my life. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've been in the roofing industry for a little while, but tell me about it and like how exactly did you find yourself in the roofing industry? Because that's always the question that people have the craziest answers for.
No, definitely. Sorry, I got my tap light. Basically, so I started in 2019. I actually worked with SVG for over 4 years. So really, my friend actually pulled me into the industry. She was like, these guys are making a ton of money, this and that. And I was like, there's no way you're making 100,000. You know what I mean? It's like, there's no way you're making that much money without having like a doctorate degree or something. So she kind of dragged me into this industry and then I stayed in it ever since. But yeah, I love it. I got a lot of opportunity to speak with thousands of different roofing owners all across the nation. I mean, we all go through the same things in a sense. So, yeah.
They do for sure. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like your experience getting in. Okay. You're brand new. You're talking to like what roofing company owners on the phone, or how does the whole thing work for you when you get started? And how do you start gaining the experience and the knowledge that you have now, you know, that obviously you acquire over time, but like, how bad was it when you first started now that you realize, oh my gosh, I didn't know that much, or
Oh, 100%. So yeah, when I first started, I didn't even know what a shingle was. Like I knew nothing. It's really embarrassing. I mean, now it's not, but SVG University, obviously I got into that and then I was the top sales rep over there. But just got to learn a lot through the videos. And I mean, it's, still is a great product, but that's how I really learned the industry when I had absolutely zero clue or idea to it. And then obviously through the obstacles of talking to roofing owners, y'all aren't the easiest to talk to sometimes.
Right.
So y'all always try to cut deals, try not to everything. So it was a hard curve for me. I got thrown in a bunch of different directions with it. You kind of start understanding. I've always had a business mentality though, and a mindset. I'm a very organized and structured person. But the reason why I'm here today is because of such the rough upbringing of learning the industry, even though we had like the university and things like that, but I was selling the product and you're speaking to a contractor who knows about everything. You're just like, it's very intimidating. So what I did is I wanted to create something for roofing owners for their sales departments, as in if you're bringing somebody on like that's green, that doesn't know anything, like there is a very simple process to it that needs to be done because it took me way too long to learn, I felt. So if I just had those XYZ processes, it was like, so that's kind of why I've gotten to where I'm at now. So
yeah, that's awesome. So you talk to roofing owners, like you said, they're not the easiest people in the world to deal with. I, for the last 90 days, have talked to roofing company owners on the phone, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, wow, this is crazy. I didn't know that this industry had like so many issues, but anything you could possibly think of. And one of the things that really struck me is I was working with a guy, he's only 17 years old, but he was doing the phones. And the issue that he was having was, like you just said, he was talking to these roofing company people and they were like just beating him to death. Like, dude, you're 17. What do you know? I've been doing this for like 20 years. What can you possibly tell me? Hanging up on him, being disrespectful, all that stuff. So like, I'm sure you probably had to deal with, there are at least one or two roofing company owners out there that are like hardcore, whatever you want to call it. How has your progression as a young lady, number one, in an industry where it's hard to get started, no matter what, but as bad as I hate to say it, you've kind of got, a little bit extra that you've got to overcome right off the bat because of that. So How has that worked for you? And how were you able to overcome that with some of these guys that are just like
Yeah.
absolutely crazy?
Well, I mean, obviously, once you learn about the industry, I mean, it's really not rocket science. Yeah, at the end of the day,
No.
it's not. It's not. Do I really want to know about all the supplementing and doing all that? No, I don't really want to. I don't need to personally because I'm not doing that. Okay. But when it comes to the sales department and learning the basics and the foundation, I learned that to a T. But when I came in here, when I overcame, actually, because I'm not the type of person where I learn super quick like I do, but I'm very detail oriented. And I feel like there are so many different levels of learning for people. So I was just able to overcome it. Once I did, though, I was actually able to listen to these guys and obviously all the roofing owners that were talking about what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, you know, whether it be they're just wearing all the hats by themselves. That's what I was really hearing a lot, or like they just can't get the company to operate by itself. I think my big transitional stage when I obviously was speaking with roofing owners like that are a little bit harder core was definitely education had to come with it. But when I found solutions for them, I would put my foot down. I would. Like, who are you to talk to me that way, right? Because we're on the same page. I mean, all of us are equal in a sense, but I do bring a knowledge and I bring factor and I bring something to the table that you don't know. So you have to listen, right? And if you don't want to, then the conversation's over. So when I got to the point where I was very confident in myself, and if I was speaking to somebody that didn't want to listen to me, by all means, I would just tell them straightforward. So a lot of people liked that, and again, helped me gain respect for in the industry. So that was kind of
Yes.
had to be a little bit of a bitch, but
Well, hey, that's how it works for all of us, honestly. I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years and I know a lot of people. And I was just, Lee Haight was telling me, like, dude, you're way too nice to these guys. You're way too nice to them. Like, and I that's just my nature. But at the end of the day, you want to slap some of them and you just want to say, just, what the hell's wrong with you?
And that's the thing. It's like, why are we on the call then? It's because if you're so perfect and you know everything, then why are we talking? Why isn't your company operating by itself? Why isn't X, Y, Z happening? Okay. So that's kind of like what it comes down to. But yeah, it was a rough upbringing for sure though. Definitely.
Well, I mean, that's awesome that you stuck through it because so many people don't, and they get discouraged just because of, the obstacles you have to overcome just getting started. But once you get yourself going now, you've been doing this for a few years, you get your confidence up and you're feeling good. Like, yeah, I know what's up now. I can serve the industry in my own special way. And you decide that you're going to start your own company, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So tell me about that adventure. Like, at what point in your career did you say, all right, now I know exactly what I got to do. I know what my calling is. Is it something like that? Or was it just kind of a matter of, this is what needs to be done and someone's got to do it?
That was it. So this is what needs to be done. As much as I loved, obviously, like the experience, at SVG was amazing just because you are working with thousands of different people. Like, who can say that they had that opportunity to speak with that many different owners? But I mean, yeah, you're going to hear a lot of things and gain a lot of knowledge as to what's going on wrong. My calling was when it was like, they're still like, okay, so there's training platforms out there. Yes, there's people can get flown out and, talk and do presentations and motivational speaking for your team. But like, there was nothing though, that's like, there was not like a process though. Does that make sense? It's like, yeah, you can buy these training programs. You can buy this, spend money on this, but there was no like advantage to it afterwards. So it's like, there needs to be a simple process that works every single time that they can reutilize over and over again. Because if you buy training videos, yeah, cool. But how do you make your guys watch it? Right.
It's tough, and I'll be the first to admit, I had a training platform like that. And I would go back and I'd be disappointed because my team would say stuff like, well, we're getting beat up at the door, or we're losing price objections. And then you go back and look and it's like, y'all never even watched the price objection videos that we took the time and made. So you're spot on. It's hard when you have to put it in someone's own hands. I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, you're going to hire a bunch of people that just love learning and they're just like 100% committed. But we know this industry is definitely filled with a lot of people that are not that as well. A lot of people think they know more than they do. And a lot of people just, aren't, I hate to say it, they're not willing to learn anything. So, so you started your business and you, let me ask you this about your company. Like, what does your ideal client look like? What's your avatar as far as this is the business we're wanting to hit? Do they
Yep,
have
yep.
X amount of salespeople? Do they have X amount of revenue? Is it something to do with, what are the factors you put into your equation to figure out who you want to work with?
That's actually a really good question. I have declined. I do decline, working with certain people just because I want to make sure and guarantee I can deliver, right? My ideal client though is, it doesn't matter if they have 0 sales reps. It doesn't matter if they have 100. That's not the point of it. It's more so about their processes. Like, so if somebody's not willing to, like an owner or a manager is not willing to input and invest their time in somebody, that's kind of like my determining factor that I'm like, no, I'm not gonna recruit. I'm not gonna do all this work and put my passion and energy into it, into somebody, because I gain relationships with these candidates. Like I do. They still text me from different companies. Like that's just like how passionate and inputted I am when I work with different companies. So I'm not gonna do that to somebody and then they go into a company that's not, very well organized or whatever it might be. So that's kind of my ideal client would be definitely just somebody that's willing and that's able to put that energy and time into it. So
I like that. The term that we use is coachable, and I love people that are coachable, and people that are not are very difficult to deal with. And I've gotten to see this whole other side of our industry with this coaching deal while I was in Florida with Lee. And it's like, you just really see his mindset is, okay, if I have to drag you into the program, I'm going to have to drag you the entire time around.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it just drains you more than it does anything else. And it's a complete waste of time. Those are usually the people that complain too and say that they didn't get their money's worth, or you ripped them off, or you're a scam. And I guess the question I have for you is, in the brief period of time that you've been doing your own deal, have you had that one that's come back and said, you know what, it didn't work because it's all your fault. I paid you the money and it's supposed to just, magic dust work?
Actually, that I'm like, no, but yeah, actually it was my very first, one of my very first clients. I actually really, really built a great relationship with them. But yeah, that did happen one time where unfortunately, obviously just like this, we got a lot of sales reps and we trained them up. But the thing is that, so this was from my on-site training. So I have and like, this is what I tell everybody. I'm like, listen, I'm not a roofing professional whatsoever. Like y'all know like way more about roofs than me. I'm not here to say that I am like that person. Right. But when it comes to processes and when it comes to getting somebody has 0 knowledge and come into the industry and stay at your company and get them trained up in 4 days, I can do that. I can 100% do that. So it's like, that's what I'm good at. But I have a roof, like I got my roofing guy, John, he comes out with me. But yeah, I did have a client though that got them all these people started. And then, when we ended up leaving from the training, sometimes accountability, like you got to keep up with accountability. You got to hold your people, to it. And if you don't, they're going to fall off. So yeah, so that kind of did happen at one time. But again, that can only be in my control at some like at a
exactly. You can't go to everybody and say, okay, now do it. But it's human nature. That's one thing I've really learned over the last couple months is if someone's not willing to do the work, they're going to find a reason to blame it on someone who is doing the work or someone who's trying to hold them accountable. And I've lost a couple of friends in the last couple months over this because it's just like, you know what? I realize now you're never going to put in the effort. You're never going to do what you need to do. And you're always going to be the victim in that situation. So kudos to you, because I know it's hard. You're putting your life, you're putting everything that you've got into this. It's your passion. You love it. And when you have someone come back and say they're not satisfied, it's like, oh, bro, are you kidding me? So
they were in the beginning, but it's like, yeah, sometimes. And again, like we all go through ups and downs in businesses. It just happens. You know what I mean? So it's just something that you have to accept. But, it always kind of hurts when you always want the best for other people. So.
Yeah, especially when they, you take them on and you say, hey, I'm here. I'm going to do my best to help you. And you feel like, even though it's not your responsibility at the end of the day, and you always feel like, man,
of course,
that sucks. I could have done something, or maybe I could have, or maybe you couldn't have, and maybe it's just a blessing.
I definitely couldn't have. I did the best I 100% could to help afterwards. So as long as I put 100% and did everything I could, I'm okay with it. But yeah, it's unfortunate though. But.
Yeah, no doubt. So I believe in you 100%, and I'm sure everybody else that works with you does too. So let's talk about what you're doing with the actual, you just said you've got a guy that you take out with you. So do you actually go to roofing companies and do training like on site around the country, or what kind of a deal do you have going on there?
Yeah, around the country. So I came like I learned a lot throughout that. Well, basically, I came up with a 4-day formula that can take a sales rep from absolutely knowing nothing to knowing how to door knock, knowing the objections, knowing how to get on the roof, do a proper inspection, knowing how to sit down with the homeowner, close the deal, knowing how to utilize their CRMs, whatever company can, whatever they may have. No, we don't train on adjustment appointments yet, just because it's too soon. But in
And
that
yeah, there's nothing really to train there. Every single one of them's different.
Exactly. But if I can get somebody that's brand new, who has a positive mentality, who wants to make money, who's hungry, trained in 4 days and closing deals, like, come on, you know? And that's what I created. And I spent the past 3 years perfecting it, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. I tested it out tons of times. And then I found something that worked. It's honestly this, keep it simple, stupid. That's really what life's about. Like,
It's the truth.
Yeah. So if I can come in and do that for a company that I have a good relationship with, right? It has to go both ways. We have to both want to work with each other. But if I can do that for them, I basically will hire them about 7 to 10 new sales reps at minimum, if I'm going to go out there with my partner to train them. And then we'll go out there. We build them their training presentation for their company with the 4-day system in it so that they can reuse it over and over again. So, and that's something I learned back even with the training platforms that people do buy. A lot of the stuff I heard was, well, this is, maybe outdated, or this is not what we do, So I'm like, I don't do anything fancy. Like I said, I keep it simple and it works. But if I can just build something for you, like that specifically works for your company and does the things your way, like I'm going to, right? And then I'm going to go out there and help it train it. You guys can see how the process works, and then you can use it over and over again. So
For sure. I love it. That's amazing. And I can definitely feel your energy through the camera too. You're into what you're doing. And I love that, because
100%. I'm super
if you don't, then it sucks, right? So you get these people. And for me, I've gotten over the course of my career has been absolutely insane. I started as a truck driver and I delivered roofing shingles for 12 years off the back of the conveyor belt. Yeah. And I went from there. I opened a roofing supply company from scratch in a completely random location in Charlotte, North Carolina. Then I moved to Texas just randomly, and I ended up selling roofs for a guy. I've partnered up with some buddies. We bought a roofing company that was out of business. I've done all kinds of weird stuff in my career, and it's been awesome. And for me, the journey has always been the best part, when you really stop and look back over it, right? So you don't really take the time when you're building this and you're making yourself known to the industry and putting yourself out there to really step back and think. So let's do that real quick.
Okay.
Think about the time that you've put into your business and all the hours that people don't even know about, right? The stuff that you've done at 3:00 in the morning when you're up and everybody else in the world is asleep, and you're perfecting and you're doing all this stuff. You go out and you start teaching people your systems. Okay. The best part that I've gotten over my 25 years is I was able to go and do consulting for sales teams with a high-level consultant, and he would literally take me with him, and I could fly all over the country and do just like what you're doing. And it was so awesome, right? Because the best part about this is when someone reaches out to you after the fact and says, I just signed my first deal. I just did this. That was my first time. What you taught me just changed my entire life. My world is going to be different. And then you see these people continue to evolve, right? So how does that feel? Have you gotten any of those yet? Have you gotten the people that say, look, this is it. You have done it. And it just kind of reaffirms your entire decision to do this, right?
100%. That's where I was like, my shit's good. It's like, we got something good going. Yeah. So typically, like for the on-site training, I've done about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've only done 4 so far, which is great. I mean, but I kind of formed the group chats and stuff, and they all send me pictures in the group chat. Another can do like another deal sign, and it just goes on and on and on. And I'm just like, my phone's getting blown up, and I'm like, let's go. So it feels so good to know that in 4 days I was able to actually build something, and with my partner's help, train them like literally on this, like on how to do all of this in this short amount of time, which I actually made a post and leveled the playing field, and I was like, just 4 days, we got these guys trained up. Got so much hate on it though.
Right.
They're like,
You
there's no
can't
way
do
you can do
anything good
that.
in this industry without someone hating on you.
Oh yeah, and I was like, you guys, it's not like we're teaching them how to do supplementing and like how to, like, you know what I mean? It's not like this is. I'm just saying, when I say fully trained up, I mean like as in like for what a sales rep needs to do in a sense, right? The only thing that they're not trained up on is just the adjustment appointment, because I don't need to really, like, we talk about it in the beginning, but we're not going to go into details about it because it's not important at that moment in time. But yeah, so it feels so good though, so good. And, yeah, one of I'm sure he probably wouldn't mind if I mentioned his name, but Franz, the owner of Antoine Exteriors, he's absolutely like great friend of mine too. Him and his wife and family are awesome. He went from like he really had no reps. So it's just him running his business. I did the recruiting and the training for him. We ended up hiring 9 people, and he still has, that was like over 6 months ago, I think. He still has 9 out of 9 people there, but just one of his reps, and I think their first month sold, I think it was like 80,000, if I'm not mistaken, which is good, which is awesome. So that was just one rep. So just to see that kind of stuff, and even if it's just 2 reps, even if it's like, hey, like I'm working with a client, we hired 5, 6 people, whatever. If you still have 1 killer or like 2 killers, like that's better than what you were doing before.
Yeah, you're going to be okay. Life gets better the more you have, but it's good when you can focus on getting some really good ones too.
100%, yeah. It's like people will fall off, and that's okay, but you're in a better spot than you were last year. So that's all.
Yep. And that's the whole key. We 1% better every day. And at the end of the year, you're absolutely looking at yourself like, damn, what happened to that person?
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing. And I really love this energy because I do sales training with roofing companies just like you, right?
Yeah.
And I get to go in, I get to talk to them, and we build this rapport. And like you just said, it's really cool when you could kind of go back and say, you know, this person, I remember the very first time this guy was in a meeting, and the truth was he was about to get fired the next day. And whatever I said to him that day, he texted me the next morning. He's like, I got this contract, Chuck, and it's all because of you. And I'm telling you before I even tell my boss. And it's like, I don't care how much money you guys pay me. That's worth more than anything you could ever put on a piece of paper, because like you said, it justifies all that passion and all that work that you've done. I tell people in my 25-year career, I have screwed up every single thing one time. Yeah. I have. Maybe a couple of things I've screwed up twice, but not very much, you know, but I've made every damn mistake you can. And my goal moving forward is to help people not do that. And it's to help streamline them. And I think with sales training in particular for roofing companies, you've got the perfect niche, because not too many roofing people that are like roofers, you know, have any idea how to really sell. They go in, they sell the cheap price, and they go in looking like a roofer. And I've always kind of had that difference of opinion with them on that. But what, as far as that goes, you know, mindset with a roofing people, if that makes sense to you, how do you teach people that? Like, is it like, do you tell people it's okay to be the roofer that's going in to sell yourself? Is it better to sell yourself as a professional like you do and like I do, that says, I don't, if I'm on your roof, you're screwed. Like everybody else on earth quit that day, and I'm the last one left to get it done, and we're in big trouble. But when you find owners, do you tell them, you know, like, this is one way that I think is better than the other? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't ever disagree with anybody's ideas or opinions, because they're all valid. I just know what works and I know what doesn't work, because whatever they're telling me, I've heard for the past 4 years of people trying it. And a lot of people have told me they tried it and it didn't work. Sometimes systems might work for them in that way. It might work, right? But if I can tell you a better system and we can just tweak yours a little bit, I don't want to change anything, but if we can tweak it a little bit, that's the whole point, right? But yeah, as in regards to, so you were talking about like professionalism and like, what were you talking about? Like,
when in your opinion, okay, which one would you prefer? I guess is someone who is like yourself or like me that says, hey, I've learned all this stuff through experience, but I don't actually have, like, I'm not going to go up and install your roof. Or you get a sales rep who comes in that has that previous experience in roofing, but no sales experience. So you're teaching them a new skill on top of what they had. Or do you think it's better? I'm just like kind of rambling now. To teach someone that has no experience at all. Which one do you think is better?
My green beans. I like my green guys. Yeah. It's okay to have somebody like, obviously, because my company does recruiting too. it's a whole different beast to tackle, especially for this industry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like to hire fresh new people off the block, because they don't bring in, obviously they don't bring in bad habits. People that are in the industry, and don't get me wrong to anybody listening to this, like, you know, sales reps that have obviously experience, yeah, they're, I mean, they're killers, but there's a lot of them though that will bring in a lot of bad habits, and their intentions might not be pure, because why are they leaving the last company? And I do get it though, because some companies obviously won't pay out, and I mean, there's a lot, you know, you hear all the noise, right?
Oh yeah. I've been in it for a long time.
But I don't disregard, if I do my recruiting, like with my company, if I'm recruiting for a client, like I come across somebody that has the roofing experience, that person I'm going to definitely reach out to, but I'm definitely going to be very, very specific in the questions I ask, and, you know, their why behind why they're not currently, you know, with a company. So, but yeah, I love the fresh guys. I just believe if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, because me coming in here, I was always top sales rep. I did leasing consulting. I danced professionally. I did ballet, contemporary, hip hop, like totally not. When my friend told me about the roofing industry, I was like, hell no. Like, what, are you crazy? Like, but I didn't even know about the whole insurance restoration side, and I just fell in love with it. Really, really did. And yeah, it's just, you have the mentality I had is what I look for in different candidates that are like newer. Like, hey, I'm tired of this 9 to 5. I'm tired of being capped out on commissions. I'm tired. You know what I mean? So it's that person that has that hunger and that willing to learn that you want. But then you got to have a system to follow it though, right? If you
Yeah,
don't,
for sure. If you don't
no,
have
it's true.
direction for people, they fall off real quick. A lot of people are just looking for direction. That's all they want. It's not always about a paycheck. It's not always about that. Sometimes it's about belonging. Sometimes it's about feeling like you're doing something to make a change in the world.
Sure.
Sometimes it's just about a paycheck, but you know, you're always going to have those
And
people
that's
that
okay.
just, yeah, you clock in, you do a 9 to 5, as long as you don't, you know, screw people over and do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. We're all here to earn a living. Nobody has to love what they do. It's a lot more fun when you do, but you know. So you just mentioned you do recruiting. Okay. So I see 3XRs: recruit, retain, and refine.
Yes.
And I like this. Let's talk about the recruiting aspect of it, because I know, as someone that has done recruiting for a roofing company that had to hire people, you know, a lot, it's not easy to find the right people, right? And I would always go through the traditional channels. I would use online, you know, Indeed or whatever that stuff is. And I would never, you know, out of all the people I hired, I had like one that stuck. And I probably interviewed like 75 or 100 people before I hired anybody. And it was just terrible. And then I would just find random people that, you know, the way that I was recruiting people is it was to be like my server. If my server at the restaurant's good, I'd give my card and say, hey, give me a call. So
I mean, and that's actually a great way to recruit. Why not?
It is. So yeah, my question to you would be then, if you're recruiting for companies across the country, obviously you can't go like chill at every restaurant in town for all your clients and be like, hey, you're a good server, come do this. How do you go about finding the proper recruits for your people? And the one thing that I always like to ask is, you know, finding a way to get them to align with that company instead of just being, you know, a body that's looking for a job that may be qualified for the position, but not qualified for that culture.
So that's the biggest thing. You said finding a way to get them to align with that company. And that's my biggest thing. I'm the opposite. I want to see how, like, you know what I'm saying? I need to make sure that that person wants them, my client, right? And I feel like this industry is like almost so much like where people are like now at this point, and I'm sure you went through this too, where you get so exhausted of doing this over and over again. It's like almost like you're like begging people at this point, not begging, but like, oh, you can make so much money, like
yeah,
kind of like, it's just because you get so tired, and I feel for that, and it's not your right, you know, it's not your fault at all. It's just recruiting is legit, like its own beast. So if you don't have like a separate portion that you're, you know, that you have like a recruiting, you know, somebody that's doing that, that's like using the processes, it's really, really hard. So with me, like I came with my recruiting ad is something that's it's really good. It's short. It's 1 page. It's to the point. I don't put too many details in there, to be honest with you. They're well aware of what the position is. It's a sales representative position, but I'm not putting must climb on roofs, must, you know, like, because if that was me, I would not apply for that job.
Right.
Your roofing salesman on there, I'm not applying to that job. But if I didn't get in this industry, I'd be so devastated. Like, I'm so happy I'm in this industry. So I'm like, what do I want to see in an ad that would intrigue me? So anytime that I'm working with like a client, the minute I post that ad, I mean, the next day at minimum we'll have 50 applicants applied to it just the next day. That's how effective it is. So as to, okay, so the ad is very important to have, is the right ad. As to finding the right candidates, I don't know what other people's processes are, but the first and foremost, like I'm obviously looking for sales experience. I don't look for anything like to do with roofing or whatever. That's always like a plus if you can find that. But what I'm looking for is like car sales reps, or those are really good, or anything to do with sales is what I'm really looking for. And then I look at job tenure. That's huge. So if I look and I see somebody literally is leaving every single year and has like 10 different jobs, I'm not even calling them at all. Just because why they're going to leave your place.
For sure. They're going to end up with 10 more roofing companies before their resume is completed as well. That's how that always works.
Yeah. So that's a big thing. And then the next thing is I'm kind of a little bit of a vulture when it comes to that, the calling. So I do phone interviews, and if you pick up, if I'm calling you and it's ringing and you pick up and you're like, hello, I'll give you like a few more seconds. And I'll be like, hi, this is Jordana, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, hey. I'm like, I hang up.
Yeah,
like,
click. I got time for that.
No, I don't. Like, come on, because if you're gonna work for my client and you're approaching a door, you're approaching a customer. Absolutely not. Like, no way.
That's it. Would I buy a product from you based on that initial reaction? And the truth of the matter is, the first guy I hired was that exact thing. It was like I had all these pieces of garbage that came, and I say that with love, but they were, and none of them wanted to do the right thing, and they were all crooks. So this guy I hire, I don't even have any furniture in my office at this point. It's brand new. We meet at a restaurant because I'm like, I don't want you to see what's going on. I'm trying to sell the dream. Yeah. And this is the dude that showed up early, that was ready to go, never asked about the pay, was more interested in the educational aspect of it and learning a new skill. And this dude came to work for me. I trained him basically for the first 3 months, just like one-on-one, because I had such a small deal. And he evolved, became one of the managers of one of the branches, ultimately moved on, and now he's got his own company here in San Antonio. And it's like, you know what? That to me is the best compliment I could possibly get. And a lot of people look at it, oh, man, that sucks. You train this dude, you put all your time in. But no, this was a guy who had no experience in this. It would have never happened had it not been for that meeting and that education. And to me, that's really what's so cool about it at this point for me, is the people that you bring in, that you can watch them flourish, you can watch them continue to grow and develop. And you're going to have so many of those over the course of your career. I'm sure you've got a ton of them now, like a bunch of young people that you get to meet. And then you get to kind of watch them go throughout their career. And some of them are going to make it huge. And one day they're going to come back to you and give you this huge recognition, Yeah. And to me, that's going to be the coolest part of it. And you're going to be so happy for all the work that you've done and everything that you've put into it. Yeah. Let's move a little bit in a different direction. Okay. So recruiting is a pain in the ass. I get that. You're doing it for us, so we don't have to. And I appreciate that as someone that, I could go to the Mexican restaurant every day and interview people, but it's counterproductive to a certain point. So
so you got me now.
Right. You train the people up, you get them in, they're working a system. So now they're staying in these organizations. They're finding ways to become successful relatively quickly. And then the last thing you have on here is refine. And this is interesting to me because I like refinements. I like making fine tuning on, little things along the way. So tell me about the definition of the word refine as we're speaking to your business, and how you go about refining whatever it is that you're refining.
Okay. So a lot of clients will come to me and be like, Jordana, so I have a very specific system when it comes to pay plans. I have a point of saying this, but pay plans, there has to be positive and negative reinforcement in a company. Has to be. So there's only positive, like, oh, these guys will get paid at 10%. And then if they hit their first 100,000 or their 8%, whatever, in the first 100,000, they get to like 10%. Yeah, but they just stay at 10%. And then if they hit X, Y, and Z or a different number, then they go to like 12%, but they just stay there. So what's going to motivate them? So that's why, and Anthony talks about this, but like the bell-shaped curve, it's like these guys get high up here, they plateau and they fall down because there's only a reward, and then they get, they get all complacent.
Yeah, it gets boring after a while. I hate to say that. I was a multi-million-dollar producer in residential, and it was like, I got bored. You can only do so much.
Exactly. So the biggest thing that people come to me, because we do have to kind of tweak the pay plans a little bit, is the refine means your current team that you have in place. So there's obviously a reason why you're coming to me. There's something's not working right, right? So something has to be all tweaked a little bit. It has to be, right? So when they come to me and they're like, hey, these sales reps, they're getting complacent, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of where my downfall is. It's like, I got to bring new people on board. How are we going to deal with that? Right. How are we going to go and change things up? Or like, so refine really means is like, well, we're going to put certain things in place that's not going to change your company up, but it's going to get rid of the fat and keep the good meat in a sense. So
Like
that's
an 80-20 type deal. Does it involve getting rid of people if they're not
Yes, because why would you have them there? Like, you know what I mean? And a lot of people and even owners get complacent with these sales reps. They're like, they bring in this and this, but that's not the point. For me, the biggest thing, sorry, this is a touch.
It's all good.
I keep tapping it. It's like touching, so it turns on. But yeah, they just they keep these people because they think it's okay, and it's like they're bringing in some revenue. But for me personally, I want to work with people that want to grow something. And culture needs to be built. There needs to be something where it's like, this is the standard to be at my company. You know what I mean? So if you have C and D players there that are bringing in little deals here and that you're okay with it because it's bringing you a little bit of money, that's not going to help you in the long run. So my thought is do not fire anybody. I don't want you to fire anybody. That's like a lot for an owner to do at the beginning, right? Let's bring on a new, fresh team. Right? Let's change things up a little bit. We're not going to change the old people's pay plans or anything or scales, but we're going to put positive and negative reinforcement into this. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to see who's really dedicated, who's really in it to win it. Once you have that new team and they're starting to produce and you're seeing something like beautiful bloom, we're going to cut that fat because there's no reason why C and D players are going to bring down your A players. So
every time.
That's my refine. That's the meaning of that. So
that's awesome. And I was hoping that that's what it was. It's just, continuing to make your team stronger and better and just continuing to weed out the ones that don't want to continue to perform. So that is awesome. And I can't say enough how much fun I'm having with this conversation. You definitely bring some energy. I appreciate what you're doing for the industry, for yourself. If you don't mind me asking, this is a personal question. How old are you?
I'm 31.
31. Okay. I was going to say like 25. So you got it going on, right? You look 25. That's awesome. So early 30s, you've already got yourself kind of on the path here. You've got your business up and running. You're building a customer base. You're getting your pipeline nice and filled. What now does the future look like for 3XR? 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What's your ultimate plan for your business?
That's a really good question.
I'm pretty good, right? I'm excited about this interview.
So I'm going to be honest with you. Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yes. I don't see 3XR scaling it. So as much helping these companies go from like this to like millions and stuff, like people are like, why don't you do that for yourself, Jordana? What I do and what I bring to the table is very specific. And I can bring on people on board. I can train them, but that's when like, I don't see myself developing into that and becoming this huge recruiting firm for companies, right? I know what I bring to the table with my recruiting, and it's this crazy person inside of me that really like makes a leap. So what I see is actually I'm dipping into solar and roofing right now. I can't really say my ideas at the moment until they're official.
I can respect that.
Yeah, but
this is an industry full of pirates. They'll steal your shit real fast.
Not even that. I don't care about that, but it's just just until I have it straight, right? But yeah, and then I've also got to, Jeremy Miner, owner of 7th Level Sales Training Platform. He's a really good friend of mine. So yeah, just kind of making a little bit of different moves, but I'm going to still be doing what I'm doing right now because I still want to influence the industry and things like that. So, but I will be in the same industry, just
in a different form.
Yeah, in a different form. Yeah.
I like that. That's awesome because that's one thing about our industry is there's always opportunity. And one thing that I love about it is no matter how hard we try to get out, we never can. And right when it happens, like something huge will come from it. So you're going to keep doing this. I love the fact that you're doing it more based out of, and I'm going to say it like, this is the way I classify myself too. I do it more for love than I do for money because I know that there's a ton of money out there that could be made if I did a bunch of other crazy stuff. And
100%.
yeah, and not wanting to sacrifice that in the belief in yourself and what you're doing and knowing that it's right, but only for the people that deserve to work with you.
Yeah.
That's huge, because there's too many people out there that are willing to just do whatever, take money, not help people.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so it's very refreshing. And if anybody that's watching our broadcast today, which this actually Keeping It Real has a pretty decent audience, I love them very much. And they see this and they want to reach out to you and they say, hey, Jordana, I've got some problems. My salespeople are, they're slacking off, or I'm sick of doing everything myself. I need some help getting a couple people. I don't know how to train them. I need your help. What's the best way that they can get a hold of you and see what you can do to take care of it for them?
I was like, typically just like text me or call me. So I can probably put my number in the link, or I'll probably respond to it with my number in there. But yeah, just call me or text me. I'm the type of person, and you can ask anybody that spoke with me as well. I am very busy, and so it's like I'm not here to I'm here to talk. If you need to talk, I'm not the type of person where I'm following up like, hey, you ready to close a deal? So that's not me.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, when you're ready, you're ready. So, but yeah, absolutely. They can reach out to me and call me is the best way. Or Facebook Messenger works really well too.
Absolutely. That's how I got you on this podcast today. So I appreciate that very much.
On your podcast.
Yeah, this is cool. So I told you at the beginning, we're getting ready to wrap it up here. We're like right about going to be around the 45-minute mark. So I wanted to tell you something that is going to shock you a little bit, because it's kind of cool. And something I already asked you kind of ties directly into it. So Are you ready?
Oh, God.
You and I have met in person one time. Once. Do you have any idea when and where you and I met in person? This is going to blow your mind.
Wasn't at a conference, was it?
No, it was not. But I'll give you a clue. I asked you earlier what podcast you had been on, and the one that you said was a good clue.
The last podcast. Were you on that one, or was that?
You were on the podcast with the guy with the beard, the dude with the beard and the hat, Matthew, right? Yeah. And you were at an event in Dallas, Texas when you did this, right?
Oh, yes. I remember.
And it was Coastal Claims. It was for Coastal Claims when they had their open house.
Yep.
I met you at that event.
That's where, okay.
So how crazy is that I even remember that? But I did.
No.
And
I knew I met you somewhere.
Yeah, it was just a chance random ass thing. Yeah, it was just a random ass meeting one day at Coastal Claims in Dallas, Texas. So
it was in Florida, I think.
No, the one I went to was in Dallas for sure. Okay, yep, it was over there like maybe 2 years ago. But there you go, right? So that's one of those crazy things that I don't know why I know that, but I just remember that. So
you just did? How funny.
Yeah, it was cool, and I definitely appreciate that. I appreciate what you're doing for our industry. I can't wait to see you continue to grow and develop and succeed for the next, God, how knows? I'm old as hell. So as long as I'm still on this planet, you got you got plenty of time. So keep on crushing it, Jordana. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's Friday. You've been talking all day. You lost your voice and you found it again just for this episode. So
let's go, squeaky voice.
I appreciate you. And what I'll do is I'm going to release this next week, but I'll cut up clips and stuff. I'll send you over your portion as well without all the logos and sponsors. So if you want to do anything with it, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
And I appreciate everything. You're always welcome to come back. And like I said, I hope you had as much fun as I did.
I really did. I really enjoyed it. You're absolutely amazing. I appreciate that.
No doubt. So this is going to be out next Tuesday, everybody. Keeping It Real is back after like a 99 or 100-day absence. I'm bringing some heat because I got some really amazing guests coming up. But I started with absolute fire right here. So thank you again, Jordana. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time, I get to go back to saying my cheesy ass tagline.